And amidst the lingering leadership challenge in the country, a group has identified Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as the best option for Nigeria. Osinbajo grassroots organization says the Vice President is a pathway to the country's future from 2023. And to demonstrate its support, the group is setting aside August 8 to celebrate Osinbajo. It claims the leadership qualities of the Vice President shows that it can succeed President Muhammadu Buhari in 2023 and consolidate on what it describes as a good initiatives of the current administration.
Well, our Rise News analyst ABIODUN joins us now to take a look at the leadership challenges in the country amidst this current crisis, in especially the major political parties. Thank you so much, ABIODUN, for being here tonight. And of course, let's looking at Osinbajo and the politics of 2023 has really started. But before we come to individuals and the political crisis, especially at the party level, let's take a look back at that interview that was granted to Arise by the Maradona, like they call him, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, and the fact that he threw up a lot of issues, which, of course, as expected, we're seeing reactions to. The fact that Afenifere is saying that all that he has said right now, and it shows how bad leadership has been in Nigeria since the advent of democracy. Let's have that conversation right now. Democracy vis-a-vis the military and leadership generally in Nigeria, how much is really lacking and how much more work still needs to go in for us to get to that El Dorado when it comes to leadership in the country?
That's a very fundamental question, and it's a long-lasting and continuing debate, and we hope to see that debate continue. We'll probably get to a point where we'll have a national hero. And Nigeria is a multi-ethnic society, very fragile, very sensitive state in terms of our dividers, our classifiers. So for us to see a leader that is salutary, that leader must be one that will not remind us of our differences. Leader that will be able to galvanize us together and propel us towards the realization of our vision, mission, and cardinal objective. A leader that you will see and you will not remember where he's from because of his actions. I doubt if we are yet to get to that stage. We've come very close from our post-independence period, but we're yet to get to that point where we'll see that kind of leader. We have seen it manifested at other levels, at lower levels, in terms of agency leadership, but there are two ways in which I think such leadership can emerge. One, it can be deliberate, through design, through the dictates of the electorates, if the processes is allowed, to be clean, to be salutary, free, fair, and credible, and then the voters, the electorates will now decide this is the kind of leader we want, based on the campaigns of the leader and the promises that kind of leader will hold. So that is the deliberate design aspect. The other aspect is if it happens through happenstance in a situation where you do not believe this kind of leader can be transformational, but it just comes on that pedestal, and it surprises everybody through, wonderful performances. We've seen it in some agencies, for instance. If you permit me, if you want, I can mention names. We saw it in EFCC to some extent with New Ribadu. We saw it in FCT to some extent, with the actions of Nasir Ahmad El-Rufai. We saw it in CBN with Chukwuma Soludo. We saw it in Finance Ministry with Okonjo Iweala to a very large extent. But beyond these agencies, we also need it, at the national level, a national hero, somebody who will be very galvanizing, transformational, and whose action will be very memorable, and you will say, this is actually the kind of leader that Nigeria deserves.
So much that the former military president, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, said in his exclusive interview with the Rise News that he sees or envisions a leader that has that Nigerianness, universality, where he knows everybody, he knows economics, and should be, in his 60s, not more than that.
I don't think this one's cut it. It's not about fixations to ages. It's not about fixation to age, or maybe somebody, like he says, somebody with greatest respect to him, maybe somebody who knows everywhere, who knows every state. That's not the definition. That's not, what defines a leader. We need somebody who is transformational, who rises above board, who can be very consistent in policy and policy directions. Not somebody who will say something in the morning and in the afternoon he changes it. Babangida was an exceptional leader in terms of ability to take decision, in terms of policy direction, in terms of courage to take decision.
And was it
but he blew it all with June 12th. So he raised the question back.
And that's what Afenifere is saying. Like it is insulting, the people's sensibility. But this was a well-trained military general. As president, he probably saw the dangers, you know, beyond Nigerians.
I think his own case was that he didn't just want to go, you know, but I think he was, with greatest respect to him again, you know, I think he got caught up in the web somewhat, because if you remember, at the feet, by the time in the wake of the cancellation, he gave 4 reasons within a space of 2 weeks in quick succession on why the election was cancelled. And as we talk, I'm not sure he's been able to justify it. So it has remained an albatross, sort of, you know. But beyond the June 12th action itself, what it means is that it just brought up an issue around inconsistency, around deceit, around the absence of trust, and our inability, the inability of the general to make us trust him, despite all his feats, you know, in the build-up to 1993 presidential election. Do not forget that, you know, he was supposed to hand over in 1991. There was a shift. There were several rigmarole, several banning and unbanning of politicians, you know, which created problems, and it became very difficult for the average citizen to trust him. So in terms of policy decision making, he was good, you know, but that singular action, and unfortunately he's not been able to apologize fully.
Well, he's still justifying that action. Yeah, even from that interview, he still believes he took the right decision annulling that election. Yeah. But you know what? You know that popular saying where it says, a country that keeps basking in its past glory is not ready for the future. Let's leave the past in the past and leave Ibrahim Babangida as a past leader. Let's look at 2023 and beyond. And Nigeria deepening our democracy. And of course now there's that whole talk about how, you know, we should look for a younger president or an older president. But at the end of the day, what kind of leadership does Nigeria really need right now to really deal with all of the current issues bedeviling the nation?
One, I've said, I think I've made a point somewhat that we just need a leader who will come as a national hero, who will not remind us of our differences. You know, about 500 ethnic groups. You know, it's not the only heterogeneous society that we have in the world, you know, but it's about managing these diversities, these divergences, you know, and privileging, you know, others above themselves. It's a very simple thing to actualize, because we have seen it in other pedestals, you know. So it just takes the individuals, you know, to a conscientious individual to come and exemplify this. And among the pack of those who wants to be president, I think there are probably individuals that are close to this. But again, we have to be mindful of the machinery that will bring this person about, you know. The campaign process, the electioneering process, are they going to be salutary? Will those kind of people not be eased out? You know, do you think those kind of people will have the money to muster? Will they be able to muster the kind of resources that they need to campaign? That's another question. We have a bill now, 15 billion, for somebody to spend to be president of this country.
Especially if it's a woman who's capable of really delivering.
Why not? What's wrong with it?
Why not? There's nothing.
In fact, they're even more capable. Okonjo-Iweala can be president of Nigeria. Amina Mohammed can be president of Nigeria, for God's sake. Oh, yes. You know, of course, they've been exemplary at, you know, that sphere. So why can't they come and...
But do we have the war chest to really challenge?
Not the war chest. If we are determined, we can invite them, and as a people, we can say, okay, let these people come and be president.
I was just very quickly, if you're going to... We're only looking at leadership at the highest level. Why are we not talking about leadership at the local level? The local government areas, you know, suffers from that leadership quality that we're looking. Don't you think it's a better place to start growing conscientious leaders like Cardinal Odnayekan said?
That's right. I agree with you, Christian. And that's why when we're talking about leadership, we're not only talking about political leadership alone. We're talking about public service leadership, civil service leadership, you know, leadership at all tiers or careers of government. You know, we need to have this sense of involvement, this sense of integration, knowing that, you know, we are all stakeholders in the project in Nigeria. But if we miss this, how it becomes a problem. And again, remember the concentric circle of leadership that we keep talking about, you know, focusing first, you know, on the outer ring, which is the community, before your family and friends, and finally before yourself. But in our situation, most of the time, we start from the center.
All right, Prof, you're not going away very soon, because we want to take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue the narrative. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching Newsnight here on Arise News, and let's take a look at politics now. A faction of the All Progressives Congress in Zamfara State has called on its followers to disregard the purported nullification of their membership cards. This reaction from the Abdulaziz Yari faction of the party comes after former Governor Ahmed Yeriman Bakura, reportedly condemned the old membership. The faction accuses Bakura of attempts to fuel disunity in the party. It describes the ongoing registration of APC members in the state as a violation of a court order and might hinder the chances of the party winning the 2023 general elections.
Okay, we still have Arise News analyst here, ABIODUN ADENIYI, to take a cursory look at this imploding, I'll call it, situation in Zamfara State.
It seems like they've not learnt their lessons
absolutely.
in the 2019 elections, where they lost everything because of their
and now it's a Trojan war we're seeing here. Abdulaziz Yari, Bakura, and maybe the former senator who really took them to court and made the APC candidates to be disqualified across board. What are your thoughts here?
Well, implosion, it's possible and looking very evident across the parties, even in PDP. You know, we have reasons to suspect that implosion is going to be across board. You know, but this is not the first time we are seeing this kind of manifestation. You know, we are going to see more of it, even in the build-up to the 2023 general elections. But in the case of Zamfara, I think I want to agree with. I can't agree more with you that it is just logical that by now they should have learnt their lessons. But it just tells me again that somehow in political contestation, we also think that there's still another realm where we have to fight the fight beyond the ballot box, you know, beyond consensus building, you know, beyond agreement and disagreement. You know, the law court is also there for us to further our fights. You know, that's my thinking really, and I think it's something that is that looks deep-seated in the consciousness of the politicians. You know, that the resort to court is another sphere, you know, where they have to continue their fight. And of course, we have so many court cases to prove this, and it's going to continue really, which is very unfortunate because it just tells us that, you know, the electorates are gradually, the politicians, the members, the participants, you know, are becoming less important in the process of
law court
decision
really
making.
determining a lot of things.
Absolutely.
But one would have thought that,
here.
you know, even if any other state would have had any crisis, one would have thought that the APC in Zamfara and River State would have gotten their house together, especially Zamfara State. See how they lost virtually everything because of their lack of internal democracy in the party. But looking beyond Zamfara State right now, the APC as the ruling party, it seemed like 2023 will be really turbulent for them, looking at all the crises in every single geopolitical zone in the country. The president as the leader of the party, how should he be handling this right now before it gets too late?
Well, because Amaka, the only way is to bring about consensus, call them to agreement. You know, but I once said it on this platform. If you remember that politicians may be doing badly at the level of governance, but in terms of politicking, in terms of consensus building, they can be very smart. And I see this manifesting ahead of 2023 presidential election. We'll be surprised that near the election, some of these things, some of these pieces in the jigsaw will come into place. You know, we will have a presidential candidates across board, but of course you expect the parties to watch themselves to see where this one will come from, where the vice president will be chosen, where the president will be chosen from, you know, the location, the region, and of course the other party will also try to balance it out, you know, in terms of ahead of calculations for gathering of votes. So all these things will play out, and I think above all the interest of the country will be paramount in their minds, you know, in the build-up to the elections.
Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. It's just in December, the various parties would hold their national conventions and get their presidential candidates out. So we're definitely going to see a lot of exodus, you know, back and forth between the two big parties.
That's right,
like
shuffling. And
all of them, they all have their crisis, but we'll see if
very much,
the conventions will help
Associate
out.
Professor ABIODUN ADENIYI for joining us on News.
My pleasure.